Justin Wolfers. Welcome to Fast Politics.
And fast economics,
So
Molly.
I want you to talk us through tariffs. I was told that trade wars are good and easy to win. We now have the highest tariffs of any developed country, right, in the world.
And it's not even close. And so, Molly, your question actually gets to the foundational mistake at the base of all of this. When Trump was growing up, other countries had high tariffs.
Right.
So when Trump was growing up, he felt we were being screwed. And in some
Mhm.
sense, we were. When other countries divert their trade away from us, that hurts them, but it also hurts American exporters. What subsequently happened was many decades. And during those decades, basically the entire industrialized world got rid of tariffs. Now, when I say got rid of tariffs, I should say there's politics in everything. And so there's an intellectual sense shared by shared in every industrialized country that openness to trade is a good thing. If you can help me and I can help you, we can both be better off. Simple as that. So we had a general agreement on trade and tariffs, and then we had a World Trade Organization. We had Europe become a trading bloc. We had North America become a trading bloc. We had countries individually just decide that charging Americans more to support dying industries is not a good idea, and they did that in other countries too. And so what happened was we basically had universal agreement that tariffs should be low and close to zero, and then there was an asterisk, which is what happens is when you get in the room with someone, with another foreign leader, and say, "Hey, I wanna cut my tariffs, it'll be even better if you do yours too." They'll say, "I agree, but I got a couple of politically difficult industries in my home country. So let's, eliminate tariffs everywhere we can, but there'll be a small number of industries, like the Canadian dairy industry, the American farmers, the European mountains of butter, where the politics are just too hard. So let's agree we'll get tariffs down to as close to zero as we can everywhere, but I'll give you a bunch of political carve-outs so you can get reelected, and you'll give me a bunch so I can get reelected." What that means is on the eve of the Trump trade war, the average tariff rate for every industrialized nation was between 1% and 2%. And there are a few crazy countries that have poorer countries that are small and run by idiosyncratic leaders. There's some euphemism there. Autocrats tend to like tariffs, so there are a few countries that
Mhm.
do have tariffs, but even outside of the industrialized countries, tariffs had their day and they're over. The reason this is central is that the most we could ever have won out of the trade war, if initially tariffs were 2% and the lowest they can go is 0%, the most we could ever win is very, very little. And in fact, getting that very, very little is going to be harder than it's worth because these are the industries where other countries have strong political interests. It doesn't really matter. We fight a trade war and we lose, American consumers are screwed, or we win and not much changes. It was asymmetric from the very beginning.
So that I think is a really good point. And let's talk about asymmetric from from the very beginning. I would love you to talk about because I feel like I haven't seen a ton of reporting. I mean, I've seen some reporting on this, but I feel like it hasn't captured the zeitgeist the way it needs to, probably, which is what is happening with India and tariffs. Because it strikes me that what happened here is that Trump got mad at India. The excuse we heard was that they were buying Russian oil. I did know there was a sort of scam going where they were buying Russian oil, processing it, and then selling it so that Russia could get around some of the tariffing, etc. But whatever happened, now the net is we had pictures of Modi with Xi and also Putin, which strikes me as probably not the ideal situation.
I mean, one thing is men don't hug in public enough. And I thought they were showing tremendous leadership
Tremendous.
and just a whole new masculinity. And if we
We
managed
want our autocrats soft and fuzzy.
we want all our men to be comfortable cuddling in public. What I would like is if we get our foreign policy right, I want our cuddler over there. I
Yeah.
would love I think President Trump doesn't cuddle enough in public either. He does a whole lot of extraordinarily camp things,
Right, but not hugging.
dancing to
But
YMCA, but I'm not
so,
talking about camp, I'm talking about just a
uh,
modern, comfortable masculinity.
so, so are tariffs supposed? Here's my question: Are tariffs supposed to drive business to other countries in a way that cuts us out of the international world order? Is that how it's supposed to go or no?
Well, if you were asking me, if America disengaged from the rest of the world, would other people go looking for friends elsewhere? It seems blindingly obvious the answer is yes.
Does, doesn't it?
And so, as a matter of foreign policy, maybe our tariffs on China hurt the Chinese people. But the fact that we have punitive tariffs without direction, without predictability, that not only are they punitive, I think people really, really misunderstand or fail to see the president's comedy, and he's a very funny man, actually has very real consequences.
Yeah.
My brother lives in Canada. They hate us. And
Yeah,
I'm
they
not
hate
just talking
us.
about my brother. I mean,
No, no, they
he
they
loves
hate
me.
us. They
Um,
hate us.
we cuddle
No,
in
we
public.
have really, really alienated Canada and Mexico, like,
Right.
really shocking. But and also their economy is already suffering. This gets me to this next question I have for you, which is we have these tariffs, right? And we have this situation where the market seems to not have priced in tariffs because they think they're getting a rate cut. And the rate cut is enough to boost the market. And so who cares about tariffs? But it strikes me that all is still not fine in the American economy.
Right.
And that the fact that stocks are going up, well, all these other indicators are not and are in fact going in the other direction. And then we have this, and I'd love you to explain to us what is happening with the bond market too, because that seems a little bit scary and important.
Yeah. So, it's actually, I think, a very complicated story, and I think you're right to raise it because at one level, frankly, it is embarrassing for liberals. We say the sky is falling, this is very bad economic policy, yet people wanna buy more of American stocks. So I just wanna sort of slow down and work our way through it a little. The first thing is, you know, I'm not gonna go all the stock market's not the economy on you, but I
Mhm.
am. But actually, what we should read from stocks is interesting and subtle. So I'm not gonna be one of these people that says ignore the market. What I'm gonna say is listen, but didn't do so in a sophisticated way. So the one thing that's utterly absolutely true, we are on an unbeaten run that every time Trump leans into Trumpism, imposing more tariffs, firing the BLS commissioner, putting Fed independence at risk, every time he leans into Trumpism, stocks fall. It's literally unbeaten since January 20th. There's not a single day where it's gone the other way. Every time Trump backs off from Trumpism, stocks rise. When he suspends tariffs, when he tells the Chinese that we don't need to cut off all trade, and on it goes. When the courts rule Trump's tariffs to be illegal every single time. So what that tells you is the market's judgment is the value of American businesses are lower when the president's instincts are followed. I think the market's worth following on this. Why is that? Because when we're talking about something like tariffs, if there are benefits for the American economy, they're all downstream of helping American business. And so if they don't even help American business, there's no way we get any of the benefits. And that happens before we even get to the argument, do the benefits to American business exceed the cost to American consumers? And so what we do, it's a very, very shortcut argument. Normally in economics, we have to think about all the benefits and all the costs. And here I can just say, hey, look, the market seems to think the guys who are meant to benefit actually have the opposite effect. That's an unbeaten run. Okay.
But
How do we then sort out? So that's true, yet at the same time, stocks have continued to rise. Okay,
right.
so what's going on here? A little bit of it is there's two Americas. There's an AI boom, which is 7 big companies that are worth an enormous share of the S&P 500. And if you look at the rest of the companies, you're seeing less optimism, though you're still seeing some. The other thing worth noting is that Trump passed an enormous corporate tax cut. Now, that corporate tax cut means any money big American businesses make, they get to keep more of it, a lot more of it. That should have sent stocks to the moon. It didn't. Actually, the amount it should have boosted stocks is much larger than the amount stocks have risen.
Mm,
Basically, the federal government's just given them a whole bunch more money back. Of course, they're worth
mm.
more. We can try and think about in a fairly careful way how much more, and it turns out their value hasn't even risen that much.
So talk to us about the bond market. What's happening there?
I'm gonna do one more thing on the stock market, partly because 'cause I'm not sure what's going on in the bond market. I'm not sure what's on your mind, Molly. But
Mhm.
here's the
Well,
thing I want.
because of the difference between the long term and the
Oh,
short
great, great,
term
great.
and what
Now I understand.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
wanna say one more thing on the stock market. Okay, stock market is big American companies. So it's not
right,
small companies. It's not
right.
startups. It's not you and I. It's not the government sector, it's not lots of things. As we move to a Trumpist form of statism or crony capitalism or interventionist, whatever it is you want to call it, the folks who can look for carve outs, Tim Apple can call the White House and say, I want tariffs to be different. Now, it turns out Apple was founded in the garage by two guys in Silicon Valley. Right now, there are two guys in a garage in Silicon Valley trying to start the next multi-trillion-dollar business. Those guys can't call the White House.
No.
So what this is an enormous preference for existing large companies over smaller
Mhm.
startups.
Yeah.
The cost of crony capital. So the thing is, who gains from crony capitalism? The cronies. Who loses? Everyone else, particularly entrepreneurs. Who
Right.
are the cronies? They're the big ones who are in Trump's Rolodex. He knows how to call, and they'll pony up. It's
Right.
CBS, for instance. It is Apple, and on it goes. So as we shift towards this form of capitalism, the value of big companies can rise even as the value of the rest of the economy falls. The stock market only reflects the former.
Yields. Bond
Yields.
yields
Okay.
go.
Right. So what's going on with bond yields? So here's the problem. When you attack the Fed and you say, what I want to do is put a lunatic in, and I want the lunatic to always and everywhere move interest rates to be low. And I want to do
Yeah.
that because I'm a property developer or because I want to move to what's called fiscal dominance. That's the word for the day. Fiscal dominance. Fiscal dominance is when monetary policy is set not in trying to smooth the ups and downs of the economy, but instead to keep interest rates low so that the government interest payments will be lower. It works. We pay less, but if you keep interest rates too low for too long, you get high inflation. So if I want
And
to,
we already have inflation ticking up.
we have moderate inflation. It's higher than it should be, but that's not the scare story yet, right?
Right. But right. I know where this is going. Go on.
Ooh.
All
Do
right,
you know
go
how exciting it is
on.
to be Molly Jong-Fast's economic advisor? I am economist to the stars, economics teacher to the stars, and sometimes my superstar pupil
The
knows where it's all going. I mean,
bar
she's worked through a few financial crises, and she
the
has written for that well-known financial magazine, Vanity Fair
and Vogue,
and
which is
Vogue,
known
right.
for covering the
You are
yes,
the closest I've
yeah,
ever come to Vogue is talking to you
yes,
and doing this.
yes,
Can we do this
yes.
together? Come on, Mol. You can do it.
All right, go on.
No,
Talk
not
about
until
this.
you Vogue.
Okay, talk about the bond market. Go. Bond market.
I'm gonna
Bond market.
I'm only gonna talk bond market while you keep voguing.
God damn it.
Okay.
All right.
It was too distracting for me. Thanks for stopping, Mol. Okay. So if we go the full Trumpist future, which is basically what Erdogan did in Turkey, we appoint lunatics who keep interest rates too low for too long, inflation rises. You'll notice I use the word if. May not happen. Good news. Problem is, if I were to borrow money, say take a 10-year loan today, the lender knows there's some chance it will happen. So therefore, already today, even without Trump having destroyed the Fed, the lender is weighing the possibility that Trump
That he might.
destroys the Fed.
Yeah.
If he does, inflation will be really high, in which case interest rates will be really high, in which case they're only going to be willing to lend me money for 10 years. If they add in an extra premium, which is the probability Trump destroys things multiplied by what will happen to interest rates, and realize that when Erdogan did this in Turkey, interest rates went up above 90% at some point, or inflation went to
Right.
86%. So a small risk of a catastrophic outcome already right now will add a lot to the interest rate that I get charged. So that's long-term interest rates. What
Right.
Trump has managed to do, he's managed to make people convinced he's pro what's called a dove, someone who's in favor of low interest rates, which has led markets to believe interest rates might be a little lower over the next year or two. But it's led them to worry that on average across all the possible states of nature, they'll be higher in the future. So he's lowered some interest rates, he's raised others. Which ones matter for business? The long ones. Your mortgage is a long run interest rate. Your business
Right.
loan is a long run interest rate. If I'm breaking ground on a new factory, it's a long run interest rate. So Trump's desire to lower interest rates has in fact boosted
Raised
interest rates. He's
interest
actually
rates.
undone the very thing he was trying to do.
So I think that's a really a good point, and I wonder if you could just for a minute. It strikes me that there are other ways in which Donald Trump has done that, where he has said he wants something and caused the opposite to happen.
Okay. Should I talk about tariffs?
Yeah, I mean, tariffs are a great example, right? I mean, it just seems like so the tariffs he wants to bring back American manufacturing, but one of the problems we see is like, for example, it's cheaper with certain materials to actually make things somewhere else and import them. So Yeah, talk us through that.
So there's a huge problem inside the White House. So there's some beliefs that I don't agree with. Fair enough. We can disagree on beliefs. There's ways of thinking about the economy that I disagree with. I could be wrong. And there's sheer incompetence. I'm
Right.
against that under all conditions. So if I were talking in a normal country at a normal time about tariffs, I would say if you put tariffs that are designed to help the manufacturing sector, you will help the manufacturing sector. And the question is, do the benefits to manufacturers offset the cost to everyone else? But the way we've gone about tariffs breaks every rule in the How to Help Manufacturers handbook, even though that's what they're trying to do. So I'm going to lead with a fact. This is a Dallas Fed survey where they surveyed Texan manufacturers and they said, what have tariffs done for your business? 3.7% of manufacturers, this is the group that's meant to help, 3.7% said it had helped. Something like 90% said it had hurt, and a few others, had different effects, were unsure what the effect was. So the way they've done it actually fails to do what they were hoping to do. Oh, wait, I've got the numbers. They had 72% of Texan manufacturing firms said tariffs had had a negative impact. 17 said no impact, 7% didn't know, and 3.7% said it had helped. It would be if you'd said to me, Justin, I want you to be as incompetent as you can. I want you to design a set of tariffs that will help a mere 3.7% of manufacturers. It would have hurt my head. I would have been, how can I implement tariffs that only help a tiny sliver? Because it's reducing the competition from abroad. It does do that. It's hard to do. And then I would have remembered page 1 of the tariff handbook says, don't put tariffs on inputs. And so then I would have said, well, I know what I'll do. If I really want to hurt American manufacturers, I will put tariffs on steel and aluminium and aluminum as well. I will put tariffs on chips. I'll start a trade war so that the inputs you wanna get from abroad are harder to get. I
Mhm.
will make it so Canadians hate us and they don't wanna buy any of the stuff that we produce.
Right.
This is like
Because they
literally a
would be our easiest trading partner, closest, easiest,
I will get the
etcetera.
rest of the world off, off liking us. I will make it so there are fewer skilled workers for precision manufacturing by chasing away
Right,
foreign students. I will
right.
take the great engines of innovation and try to
The
shut them down,
universities.
being, of course, our universities. So it's actually a striking accomplishment, but I actually think it's something we should talk more about, not tariffs, not the bond rate, but the extraordinary levels of incompetence. Tariffs that are on Monday and off on Tuesday.
Right.
This incompetence is above and beyond any ideological divide. It means they're not even achieving the right-wing goals that they're after.
Thank God. One we're out of
Not thank
time.
God, because it means not even the rich are
Right, not
gaining.
even.
No
Um,
one wins from stupidity.
Thank
Sorry.
you, Justin Wolfers.